is John from Heroes and Legends. So we got some more Hour of Devastation previews to look at. Now, I did a video earlier today, but since then, 7 more cards came out. So I was thinking of moving these into the next day, which is what I would typically do, but I really don't want tomorrow's video to be extra long. So I figured, let's just do a quick video. We'll talk about these 7 cards quickly before we get started. If you check out the description below, you'll find a couple ways to help support us. One of which is our Amazon affiliate store. Any purchases you make there, a small percentage will come back to us. Secondly, you'll also find our Patreon page down there too. With that out of the way, let's get into the cards. Here's 4 Entertainment Weekly preview cards. They seem to get preview cards now every standard set, like 4 or 5 of them. They're usually commons or uncommons. That's the case here. We have 2 commons and 2 uncommons. There's nothing here that leaps out to me as being competitive, standard playable, or anything like that. But there are some decent limited cards here for draft and sealed. So let's take a look at them. The first one is God of Pharaoh's Faithful. It's a white human wizard. It's a common 0/4. Whenever you cast a blue, black, or red spell, you gain a life. I love the flavor here, the flavor text, and the flavor of the card, what's going on. The art's actually very striking as well. So it's a cool card. What's its purpose? Well, sometimes in limited, you just want something to slow down the game. You want a 0/4 blocker, and incremental life gain maybe or maybe not as important to you, but for the most part, having that cheap blocker can be nice for a slower, methodical build, a lot of control in it, something like that. Also, maybe you lost game 1 to a lot of small aggressive creatures, board this in to try to protect yourself over those early turns. That's really the purpose. There's also another card we're going to look at in a few minutes that this actually does interact well with, so more on that later. Eternal of Harsh Truths, a blue and 2 zombie cleric. This one's a zombie. Uncommon 1/3. It has afflict 2, and whenever this attacks and isn't blocked, you get to draw a card. So it has curiosity built in. Very economical for your limited games. I mean, a 3 casting costs 1/3 of afflict 2, and as a zombie, sometimes that will matter. And, oh, curiosity's thrown on there too. Why not? For 3 mana, it's a pretty nice package, I think. I like the card quite a bit. I mean, not a first, second, third pick necessarily, but it could be a mid to higher level pick. Merciless Eternal, another afflict card. Black and 2, Zombie Cleric 2/2, afflict 2. This one's an uncommon. Pay a black and 2 and discard a card. It will get +2/+2 to end a turn. So the card itself is kind of interesting. I mean, 3 mana and discarding a card to pump it, it feels like a lot. But in the late game, as long as you have cards to discard, that is, maybe hold on to some lands or something, that could get interesting, like attacking with a 6/6 with afflict 2. Like your opponent has decisions to make against these afflict cards. And again, this isn't something I'm going to necessarily pick in my first couple and third, maybe even fourth pick in a pack. But again, it's certainly playable in draft and sealed. And I usually don't like 2/2s for 3, but the afflict has me at least interested in this card, if nothing else. And again, if you have some stuff to buff zombies, it's potentially even better. So that's interesting. I'm really intrigued to see how Afflict plays in the limited environment, especially draft if you can pick up a lot of these cards. Because I feel like if you pick up a bunch of Afflict cards that your opponent kind of loses either way, like they're taking damage if they block, taking damage if they don't block, you back that up with like some flyers of Asian creatures and maybe some burn and you kind of call it a deck. Feels like it could be good. Finally, we have Frontline Devastator. This costs a red and 3 zombie Minotaur Warrior, common 3/3, afflict 2, pay a red and 1. And this will get +1/+0 until end of turn. So again, for limited purposes, a 3/3 for 4 feels pretty good. And on top of that, it's got some potentially relevant creature types, not to mention afflict 2 and the 2 casting cost fire breathing built in. So yeah, there's a lot of plus side definitely for a lot of these cards in sealed and draft. Next we have Crested Sun Mare. This costs 2 white and 3. This one's a mythic horse, 5/5. Other horses you control have indestructible. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse creature token. Wow, this is actually very interesting. So the first thing I said to myself when I saw this card was, are there any horses in Magic? So I went to Gather and I looked it up, and yeah, there actually are a number of them. And once I saw them, many looked familiar. I actually played with them in the past. So go ahead and check it out for yourself. Go over to Gather. I'll wait, look it up. Pause the video if you want, or keep it running, but see what's out there. Secondly, there's also changelings out there. So the reason I bring this up, obviously, is for casual formats like Commander. If you wanted to make, not necessarily maybe Horse Tribal all in 100%, but maybe a sub-theme to a tribal deck or something like that, it could be kind of interesting. And obviously, this may be a call forward to things that we could see in the future too. So I find it actually pretty cool. Is this good in limited? Yeah, I think it's a great limited card. I mean, first off, a 5/5 for 5, and white especially, that can be real nice for you in a draft or sealed. You'll be happy to pick a card like this up. It's mythic, you won't see it a lot, but when it does show up, you'll be happy to play it. And the ability does allow you to maybe draft some of these little incremental life gain cards that no one really cares about or wants. You could pick up a couple of them, and they actually may help your deck be a little bit better at times. You don't want to go overboard with that, obviously, because that starts to get sticky. That's not going to be your sole win condition or anything like that. But it could make a good deck a little bit better, and I do like it for those purposes. The big question, can this make it a standard? So I feel like on the surface as I look at this, my early impression is no. Somebody proved me wrong because I love this card and I'd love to see it as standard, but here's the only issue for me. For this card to really unlock its power, you need to gain life with it on the battlefield. It starts to become a little too inconsistent. You don't want to draw your life gain spells and not draw this, for example, because then you have a whole lot of nothing going on, and you're going to lose very rapidly to some of the really high-powered decks that are out there in Standard. Or you don't want to be in a situation where you get this out on turn 5 or 6, and then it gets destroyed, and you're stuck with really no other alternative but, again, a bunch of life gain spells in your hand. If things don't work out just right for you and you can't protect this kind of combo early on, you're ultimately in trouble. You're always on the defensive with a deck like this, and that's my concern. Now, there's a lot of good brewers out there that could come up with something, and like I said, I really hope they do, because I think that would be sweet. But overall, still a great card for casual format. I think it'd be fun in Commander, and really good in Limited. Happy to see it for that. Kefnet's Last Word. 2 blue and 2. It's a sorcery, rare. Gain control of target artifact, creature, or enchantment. Lands you control don't untap during their next untap step. So, we saw the red one earlier in this cycle. I wasn't too impressed with that one, but I really like the other 3 that we've seen previously. This one's kind of middle of the road for me. I start to get nervous at 4 mana for these whole your lands aren't going to untap next turn spells. Like, I'm okay with 2 or 3. 4 starts to get a little scary for me. But I will say this. In Limited, and that includes not only your sealed and draft environments, but also cubes, control magic spells are sometimes incredibly powerful. And even in power cubes, like, people play treachery and control magic, and they sometimes win games. So, because of that, I do think this is highly, highly playable, and probably really good in both draft and sealed. I'd be happy to play this, happy to pick it up, maybe even first pick it. I'm a little nervous to say that. I'm still nervous about that drawback, and I want to see how that plays in real life. But at least for right now, I feel like this is maybe first pickable. Beyond that, control magic style cards don't always do as well in the constructed formats. And I don't really see this crossing over into Standard, at least not really efficiently. Maybe a sideboard card, depending on what kind of other decks appear in the meta. But the issue with control magic in, like, Standard or Modern or Legacy or what have you, the problem is there's just usually more efficient ways to deal with the problems. For example, I could play a counterspell for 3 that's basically just a hard counter, as opposed to letting my opponent play something, hoping they don't have a counterspell, and then trying to steal it. Granted, I don't get to steal the thing with the counterspell, but that's okay because my deck's designed in such a way that I have my own win condition. I'm not really content on relying on my opponent to give me a win condition. That's being not proactive enough for competitive play a lot of times. So I don't see this card crossing over here. Like I said, if there is some sort of weird deck that comes out that is relying on like one creature or combo or something, then this could maybe help break it up and come out on a sideboard or something. But other than that, I don't really see it there. Again, great card for Limited though. And another really fun card, also oozing with flavor, although the art is a little suspect. That hand, I understand it's forced perspective, but that hand is like right there in your face. So anyway, there you go. Alright, next card is Bloodwater Entity. It is a red, a blue, and 1 elemental rare flying 2/2 prowess. When this enters the battlefield, you may put target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. It's okay. Here's my thing with it. I like flyers, I like prowess. I don't like paying 3 for a 2/2, but okay, it is flying prowess, so I can kind of get beyond that, even with the 2 different colors. But taking a instant or sorcery from my graveyard, putting it on top of my library, first off, I have to have a target. if I do have a target, then I have a decision to make. Do I really want that card to be the next thing I draw? That kind of tempos you out a little bit, especially if there's something else in your deck you're hoping to get to. Maybe a land even, or maybe just a really powerful spell. So is that one maybe 3 damage instant spell, or is that one removal spell important enough at that moment? Sometimes it will be, sometimes it won't be. So are you going to fill your deck with these type of things? Well, the answer to that question depends on what format you're playing, I think. Standard? No, I don't think so. I think there's just better things you could be doing, especially in Is It Control. Is It Control had a great deck in this last meta. They are stacked with power right now. This is not a horrible card by any means, but I just don't see it breaking into that really strong build as it stands currently. I don't know, maybe post-rotation that could be a little different, but at least for right now. Limited, though, I'm happy to play this. Like I said, sometimes you just need a flyer. Now, you're not always going to have a target for the instant or sorcery side, but okay, 2/2 prowess flyer. I'm still okay with that. And when I do have a target, again, if I choose to actually take that spell back and put it on my library, then at least I have the choice. I mean, I don't have to do it. It is a May ability. So for there, I think it's fine. Again, for me, it's not like a super high pick in a draft or anything, but I'd be happy to play it in draft or sealed. It's a fine card. All right, having said that, those are the cards for today, and we will be back tomorrow. We're going to talk about everything that happens over the next cycle, and Friday we'll come back and we'll start our full set review. So until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.